Welcome to the Trying to Be Better podcast with Joel and Steve.
There she is. There she is.
Excuse me. I cleared my throat.
Maybe you could have done that before I hit record. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I had to wait. It's a Pavlovian response to you hitting record, and I either A, am eating a protein bar, B, taking a sip from my coffee, or C, just clearing my throat. And we have a big show today. So I had to make sure all the phlegm was out of the way. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Perfect.
Welcome.
It's like an added bonus for our dedicated listeners.
Yes. And if you get to the certain Patreon level, you can buy my phlegm that I hawk over here in my
In one of those little commemorative coin cases.
Yeah. Our guest is like, what did I sign up for? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Trying to Be Better podcast with Joel and Steve. My name is Joel.
And I'm Steve.
And this is a podcast that is long overdue because we have a special guest, somebody who I'm kind of a fanboy of, and I'm going to try not to get too fanboy-y. But today is a big fanboy day for old Jolie Bear because we get to have our guest on. And then later tonight, I'm going to go travel to Kansas City to see Johnny Pemberton do comedy.
That'll be so good. I'm a little envious of that, to be frank.
Yeah, I'm envious. Yeah, I'm having a day. It's
gonna be fine, man. You're gonna do great.
If I start stalking that guy at his hotel, I don't know what
you're not talking about our guest. You're talking about Johnny.
No. I don't know where our guest lives, and that's probably a good idea.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, find us on the socials. If you want to email us,
it's a TTBB podcast at gmail.com.
Thank you, because I always blow it. Anything else, Steve, before we
I don't think, I have things to say, but they're not important. So
what else is new?
Exactly. Right. That's the content you come here for.
Well, any housekeeping we need to take care of, Steve? I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I don't think so, actually. I think we mentioned the socials and the email address. I think we're good to go. Let's get into it.
How's that Blue Sky account going? I still don't have
it's there. Yeah, follow us on Blue Sky.
Okay.
It's there. Sure. And it's lighting the internet up. I'm surprised that, some of those AI server farms are just running our feed.
Hey, who needs rivers and birds if we can have data centers?
Right. We'll have virtual data centers.
Oh my God.
Wait. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Today, thankfully for all of your ears, we have a guest, so it's not just Steve and I complaining to each other about the sad state of the nation. We have a very special guest, and I'm so grateful that he decided to come on. So a little backstory. Our previous guest and my dear friend, Armando McLean, was hired as an actor, as a voiceover actor for a podcast series, fictional podcast series called Samite. And when that happened, Armando sent it to me, and he's like, "Hey, you should check this out. This is this thing I'm doing, and if you don't mind, plug it, on your social media or whatever." And so I immediately was like, "Okay." I listened to the first episode. Halfway through the first episode, I was hooked. I had forgot it was Armando, and I was like, "This is fascinating." And so I told Armando that. I'm like, "Dude, what is going on?" He's like, "I thought you might be interested." He's like, "You need to check out Weeping Cedars." And so I listened to all of Weeping Cedars and Samite again, and then new seasons of Samite came out, and then a new series in the podcast or in the storytelling universe of Weeping Cedars, Wrought of Amber, came out. And then so I've just been trying to immerse myself in our guest's world for the last few years. His name is Joshua Wise. His pen name is JWG Wise. He is the writer. I guess I'm going to get to know what his creative role is in all of this, but I think that he's sort of the sole creator of all this. I know he's got some books coming out in the Weeping Cedars universe. I know he's written other things outside of the Weeping Cedars universe. So anyway, Will you give a big TTBB welcome to JWG Wise or Josh? Welcome, Josh.
Hi,
Hey,
Josh.
thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. It's good to see your face. It's good to hear your voice with the face that I hear all the time. So as in our it's been a minute since we've had to be on our best behavior and have a guest. And I think when we have a guest, one of the things we start with is like, what's your origin story, man? Like, where are you from? A little
hmm
bit about what you want to share about where you're from, and maybe what got you into writing. I think that I want to say at some point in your like Weeping Cedars introductions or updates, you mentioned something about like you studied writing or studied creative writing. I don't know if I'm making that up, but tell us a little bit about what makes you you as an artist, what makes you you as a writer, and where kind of this stuff kind of birthed.
Yeah. You don't have to be on your best behavior because I'm
Oh,
originally
thank
from
God.
Jersey.
Good.
Perfect. Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
um,
Fucking A.
somebody, a friend of mine who did one of the shows that I game mastered for a while, talked about a play that they had. I don't know if they had been part of it or they directed it, but it was set in New Jersey. And the person who wrote the play had to explain to everybody how the word fuck was used and that it is used the same way the word is used in
Yes.
everybody else's vocabulary.
Yes.
So I'm definitely, I think if people are familiar with Weeping Cedars and they think, well, this is an erudite sort of piece of, historically informed art, I bet the person who writes it is a stuck-up asshole. And that is, um, that's hopefully not true, at least not the stuck-up part. But yeah, no, I actually, I think I did one. This is terrible. I did one semester of a major in English, and I changed my major over, um, partially because I grew up with a English teacher mother. Like
Mm.
she was a middle school English teacher. She actually didn't get to do that for most of the 80s. But boy, I'm a book it kid. So I was
Mm.
like, getting pizzas because of books. And so I both gained weight and read a lot of books.
Which, looking back on it now, like,
Mhm.
well, that was just a ploy to get parents into Pizza Hut to buy more pizza.
But what a brilliant ploy.
Totally. I agree.
I fully support, like, look, if America's gonna be obese, they may as well be better read.
Yeah.
Like they
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be
it would be
nice.
astonishing. So I was both a book it and just say no kid. So like I was reading a lot of books, getting made fun of, and not doing any drugs. Um, I guess eating a lot of pizza too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were reading from a very early age. I have one brother, and we were both just reading from a very early age, and lots and lots of stuff. But I was also Atari 2600 generation. So
Yeah.
like uh we played I played video games from a very early age. So those two things were married for me,
Mm.
that they were both just this is what this is what media is. It's video
Yeah.
games and it's books.
What were you reading? Like, I can rattle off maybe two or three books from my early book it days that really
hmm
blew my mind. Like, I can remember the first like chapter book I read from cover to cover. Like, what are those books for
Mm.
you?
So I have a real blank period there
Okay.
between like second and seventh grade, but I know that because just the way that the timing worked out, when I was doing Book It, Timothy Zahn was kicking up Star Wars again,
Yeah. Yep.
and so I was reading a lot of Star Wars and Dragonlance.
Okay.
It was just like a ton of fantasy and sci-fi
Hmm.
that I haven't gone back to Timothy Zahn, but I have gone back to Dragonlance, and I thought, no, this is okay. I don't. This was good
You
for my
should. Timothy
13-year-old
Zahn,
head.
though.
Mhm.
Timothy Zahn has revamped the Thrawn character in a really amazing way, too.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was reading a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. I was reading because Mel Gibson did Hamlet early on. I was reading Hamlet in seventh grade.
Hmm.
And so that's probably a good like landscape of I'm reading Nintendo Power, I'm reading fantasy, and I'm reading Shakespeare. and I'm playing video games, and all of those things are congealing in my weird little brain.
Yeah.
Um, and then none of them would be very useful in a writing sense until many years later. But yeah, so kind of started there, and then high school. I think I was probably a pretty typical like nerd in high school where I was reading a lot of Kurt Vonnegut
Yes.
and Isaac Asimov. I mean, I'm an Asimov guy. My brother was a Heinlein guy. And so we never, almost always, we never, he was like a Raymond E. Feist guy, and I was, doing, I think I was doing Robert Jordan at the time. So like it was, we were always doing separate things, but we were in very much the same track. So, um, a lot of sci-fi. I still have deep love for classic sci-fi. Gordon R. Dixon,
Mm.
who seems to have be a forgotten science fiction writer of these days.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Dixon has a huge influence on me in the fact that he wrote a science fiction epic and then died before he could but
Oh.
it was a Hegelian science fiction epic
Mm.
in that he saw history as thesis and antithesis functioning, and so he wrote a science fiction epic uh, that spanned thousands of years, and humanity breaks into three parts. And I think the earliest story takes place in like 1400
Oh,
Britain,
wow.
and then expands off far into the distant future. And then you have the Superman and the anti-Superman, and they essentially have to synthesize. But he died before he could write the synthesis.
Wow,
So
it's like
like,
that's like a like Frank Herbert and George Bernard Shaw like had a
mhm.
baby. That's
Right.
really cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that sort of epic, but his big book is called Dorsai.
Okay.
And no one I know knows Dorsai.
I don't know it. Yeah.
Um, but it's yeah, so it's there's a lot of different pulp, I guess you could say, going on
Mm.
in there, and then just a massive amount of C.S. Lewis in college.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Just a pile of Lewis. And I think Lewis taught me to think, because I wasn't a particularly logical person before that.
Hmm.
But that was also when I got into computer programming, and so I've been a software engineer for years and a writer. I did academic work.
Hmm.
And so all of that kind of mashes together and ends up as Weeping Cedars.
Yeah, so like yeah, that's thank you for that origin story and thank you for dropping some of those names. I'm gonna go back and check those out because my foray into sci-fi has been Star Wars, and a few years ago started reading Star Wars books, and then now I'm reading the Dune series, and I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I want a little bit more. So thank you for that. So how does where does Weeping Cedars start to formulate as an idea? Like, how does that come to you? Because if those of you that don't know, the Weeping Cedars story, the epic, is sort of a multi-threaded tapestry of a universe that is being sort of piecemealed to you in a lot of different ways. That's my description of it, but via a
That's a good description.
podcast, via podcast, mostly audio drama. And you call it a horror, but there are times where I'm like, this isn't horror at all until I'm laying in bed at night with my earbuds in and I'm terrified and I just want to go to sleep. And like I've had an experience one time listening to the very end of Weeping Cedars with my earbuds in. My wife was already asleep. It's pitch black in my room and I'm listening to the end and my eyes are as big as dish saw. I'm like, oh, this is why it's a horror podcast. So where does that all of that influence and all of those ideas and all of that input sort of coalesce to I'm going to make this thing.
Right.
I'm going to tell this story.
Yeah, so maybe the truncated long version of that is that I played Fallout 3.
Hmm.
And so much of this always comes back to video games. But Fallout 3 had the adventures of, oh, I can't remember the guy's name, but he has the faithful ghoul manservant Argyle.
Hmm.
And it's just this British guy in the wasteland with his ghoul Batman. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I want to make something like that. And up to that point, I'd written a novel as a teenager, and it was terrible. And I had written fantasy novel in grad school, and it was less terrible. But I wanted to do something different, and I thought, oh, I can write an audio drama.
Hmm.
That'll be relatively easy. Um,
How do you feel about that statement now?
so the thing that I wrote then comparatively was easy.
Okay.
And I will say this, with that, hopefully without not sounding like a complete asshole, I've never found writing to be hard.
Hmm.
I admire the people who find writing to be hard and keep going.
Hmm.
But writing for me is always, not always, because there are obviously hard days. There are obviously days where like you sit down and go, okay, this isn't working. Um, but it's much more of sort of a spiritual experience where you just get into it and then you're in a conversation with the muse, and it just kind of happens.
Hmm.
Um, or you're in an argument with the muse, and eventually you're going to get to the place where it happens.
Right.
But so I thought, okay, I want to write this, and I wrote this show called The Adventures of Lord Denby Witherspoon, Duke of Space. Uh,
Duke of Space.
Duke of Space, and
Love it.
it sounds like the sound quality isn't great, but the opening is what you would think that would be, with
Hmm.
horns behind it
Yes.
and the announcer. And so I did that for 2 seasons. There was supposed to be a third season, but life got in the way. Like I was graduating, my father was dying, and I was getting divorced all in a year. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not. This third season isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even as I was wrapping that up, I was starting to think about, okay, I want to do something else. And the thing I want to do, I think, is about this small town where a girl dies, and then a year later, her body is found in the basement of a burned down pharmacy.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, people see her ghost around town.
Yeah.
And then her two best friends do a podcast about the locations where her ghost has been showing up and start to uncover the history, the dark history of their town.
Yeah.
And there are two competing cults. And so the first thing that I could really identify is like, this looks like Weeping Cedars
Hmm.
is that. That being said, the Dark City in Weeping Cedars was a D&D campaign setting that I created for my friends in grad school.
Oh, nice.
So a big history of I mean, the Queen and Samite is in there, the librarian
Uh,
is in there.
uh-huh.
They're different than they are in Weeping Cedars, but the basic structure of Grad Ludi as the Dark City was there as a campaign setting, and
Hmm.
that solved a kind of a narrative problem because with the first Weeping Cedar official Weeping Cedar story, which is the prequel in Refugees of Esmeralda, I solved the bad guy. The bad guy
Hmm.
was Daseth, and that was it. There was no mystery to be had.
Hmm.
So when I sat down to say, okay, let's make this a full show, I had this problem of what's the mystery then?
Yeah.
We already know the bad guy, and that's when kind of all of these other things started to pour in.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That I can see and not somebody who has sort of been on the outskirts of Dungeons and Dragons and sort of that sort of
Mhm.
tabletop RPG world. Unfortunately, I had a friend who I was like, "Hey, I'd love to start playing." And he's like, "Yeah, man, you'd make a great dungeon master. You're an actor. You're all these things." I'm like, "Yeah, man, what do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, we don't take noobs." And I was like, "Screw you, fuck you," like so. Anyway, but that what I know of that world, that practice,
Mm.
that game and that creation, it totally clicks now as I listen to all of the different sort of arms of the universe that you've created. And that the pathway through them is unexpected and you don't know what's going to happen next, even though you kind of know that there's like there's a pathway to win, so to speak. There's a path,
Mhm.
there's like a there is this beckoning towards some sort of end. But the journey is the fun part, right? Like that's why we play video games. That's what I always tell my
Right.
students. Like that's why we play video games. That's why we do all these things. It's like when we're writing stories, the quest is the fun part, and you can make that quest as wild and zany as you want because you know where you're headed, hopefully. So, um, yeah. So, Yeah. So how do you just started writing and you started producing? Was this kind of like a one man show at the beginning? And I'm
Uh,
assuming that it's become a little bit more like you have some, maybe not, maybe you run the whole thing yourself, but I think that the production value and the aesthetic is so sort of clean and crisp that I'm like, you've got to have a couple people helping you out. Like, how did you grow from just you having this idea to it being a thing?
so I will say the only people who have ever worked on it are the actors.
Okay.
And right now I do have an editor for my books because I'm not a complete idiot to try to self-publish my own books without having somebody else tell me I don't know how to use commas properly. Um,
That's a good idea, I would say, to have an
um,
editor.
uh, but also I will say that of course there are people who do self-publishing that would love to have an editor but can't
Yeah.
because they can't afford it. And I'm in a fortunate enough position where this thing kind of pays for itself. It's not profitable, but it does pay for itself for the most part.
Hmm.
But yeah, there is no team. I do all the art, I do all the editing, I do all the writing, I do so the kind of the only person who's ever worked on it in a non-acting capacity is my current editor who works on the books.
Okay. Wow.
So
So
do you do the art?
yeah, I do all the art.
That's awesome. And how about the music? I had a question. That was my question. Like, where's the music come from?
So the music comes from two different places. First, either Creative Commons or attribution licensing. So
Sure.
like the Weeping Cedars theme, I got exceptionally lucky. I was just tooling around the Free Music Archive looking for something that sounded like Silent Hill, because Silent Hill is a massive influence on Weeping Cedars. And I found this performer, Demoiselle Dolnero. I think that's how you pronounce it. Uh,
If it's not how you pronounce it, it's
uh,
consistent with how you say it on the
right,
podcast.
yeah,
So
right.
then I think you're good.
I think I'm mostly good on that. So they did, and in fact, I'm going to be looking at them again because they would just go online and stream these amazing, very raw guitar pieces
Mm.
that are all Creative Commons zero. Just
Mm.
hey, everybody, go use it. Um, in the rest of the shows, though, I basically used I want to say it's Envato, but it's not. It's a Epidemic Sound. So I
Okay.
basically just buy a license every year and use the music from that. It really wasn't until the last season of Wrought Amber that I really figured out a good a good sound for the shows in my mind, which is
Mm.
that I want tones and I want undertones, but I don't want full songs behind things. Um, and uh, and I only kind of at the end went, oh, I can get all the stems and I can strip out all the pieces I don't want. But things like the Samite or no, the Rod of Amber theme is me finding two songs with essentially the same beats per minute and laying them over each other. And again, that was very fortuitous because I looked up Emerald and I looked up Amber, and I found
Yeah.
two songs with those words in the title, laid them over each other, and that became the theme of Rod of Amber.
Perfect.
Um,
That's genius.
it's dumb
Also,
luck.
just with the Samite stuff, I'm just like, there's some sort of ghost in the machine here. You should really be careful. Like, I know it's a fictitious world, Josh, but you got to be really careful with that shit, man. That's how the message gets to you, and you start, killing people in a field.
Yeah, it's I that stuff is so this is it's funny, same idea comes largely out of the fact that my dad grew up loving cowboys and astronauts.
Yeah.
And I at some point in my teenage years thought, oh, my cowboys are the guys from MIT in the late 70s.
Yeah.
They're the guys at BBN in the 60s who made the internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of that stuff comes out of somebody, my brother's friend sitting down at our computer in the 90s and saying, here's a thing called Zork. Have you ever heard of this? And I went, no, I don't know what Zork is.
I
And I
I
played
remember
it.
Zork.
And I was like, okay, I have to be able to make this. And
Well,
that's
that
why I learned to program computers. Like,
I listen. I have not listened to. I have zero Weeping Cedars. A little bit.
mhm.
Started Rod of Amber. I'm listening to it currently, and but Samite. like the first episode of that, the thing that really sucked me in, first of all, was Armando's voice.
Oh,
Yep, he's great.
just butter, just warm, soft and
Fantastic.
warm. The quiet storm.
Shout out to Armando, but also like
Mm-mm.
I could feel that computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm old enough that like I know that machine, that type of computer, and the BBS
Right.
running, and that spinning disaster of a hard drive, and the fact
Yep.
that it even booted, and like I was in right there, like, well, I got to see what's on this thing.
This is
then
the thing I think that a lot of people are disappointed with, though, with Samite. A lot of people don't like season 2 of anything that I do. But one of the comments that sticks with me is like by the end of that series, they're like, well, we're a really long way away from that BBS. I'm like, we are. And there's some part of me that wants to go back and do something that sticks with something like that, because I am trying to tell a bigger story, but like I think a lot of people got drawn in by that BBS and were like, can we just kind of hang out here? And I wanted to on a certain level, but another level, I'm like, how many seasons can I go? And we found another hidden folder,
Right.
right? Like,
Ding.
well, I think that I just the lore of everything, just sort of the way that you incorporate how media is used to move these stories forward. It fits in a larger picture if you're kind of only hanging out in Samite, which is
Mhm.
it's Samite. Not, I hope you don't take offense to this, but
Sure.
Samite, and maybe it's Armando's voice, but Samite is sort of the sexy, like sleuthy, noir-y kind of version of what's going on.
Yep.
And I think that can be really alluring, and you just kind of want to hang out there. But if you listen to everything,
Mhm.
the way in which messaging, media, television, radio, obviously, and television, and just everything communicated, like then you start to see there's something that's where if I start to get corkboard crazy,
Uh-huh.
I start to kind of pick, okay, so this is how all of these messaging apparatuses are transmitting the glory or whatever.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah.
And so I started anyway. I guess to be on the advocating side of that, it's like, well, that's just one piece. This was the evolution of the story taking form in a BBS versus television versus radio.
Right, right. And I mean, there's also, once I got done with Weeping Cedars, I said, hey, I was going to do 3 seasons and I'm not going to overstay my welcome. And then I started to write the Samite story, and it wasn't originally Weeping Cedars story. It was originally just like, hey, it's a haunted BBS. What's that about? And then as I did it, I looked at a lot of both internal ideas and external ideas, a lot of external realities, and said, no, this should be a Weeping Cedars story. Where is it going and how does it go there? And then I decided to just trick everybody because those first 3 episodes don't have my name on them. And so if people are coming to Samite now, they don't realize that the first season of that show, the first 4 weeks, it was not a Weeping Cedars show to everybody. Nobody knew it was a Weeping Cedars show. It's only in episode 4 that it's revealed that it's connected to Weeping Cedars.
Oh, wow.
So I was trying to push the show on people who I knew were big fans of the show before it became known that the series was part of the Weeping Cedars universe. So there was this moment for like hardcore Weeping Cedars fans where they got to listen to Samite going, this is interesting. I wonder what this is. And at the beginning of episode 4, they hear the Weeping Cedars music start to rise.
Yeah.
And then Armando reveals the connection, and then people lost their minds, which was the goal. But it was a very tiny moment of a thing, because
Yeah.
after that, everybody knows it's Weeping Cedars.
So yeah, were you just like trying to be cool and be like, hey, you guys should check this out. I think you would like this. I don't know, maybe not. Like you're trying to be.
So I
coy
did a
about-
little of that. I also created a fake account on my Discord
Oh, nice.
from Michael Wolling-Breyer and had him join a couple of months before the series was coming out, and had him push the show. I did a few things like that where I was basically like, hey, I'm somebody else. Check out this show. If you like this show, maybe you'll like my show. But it was such a short-lived moment. But there were a few people who got to have that moment.
I said, did that work?
It did. Yeah, it did. Not on a wide scale. In fact, Weeping Cedars has been sort of growing in numbers ever since it's come out. But when it first came out, obviously it was not kind of an immediate hit. I wouldn't even call it a hit now. It's like it's a solid B minus tier podcast in the audio drama world. Um, but for the people who were part of the community at the time, it did work, and people were very happy that it did that thing. But again, it's such a minor thing. And maybe there will be somebody else in history who has that experience by accidentally stumbling on both shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always intended to kind of be a bit of a misdirection and turn.
So when you dropped this to the world, and that you are the person that took my audio drama in podcast form virginity. So I don't know that there's anyone like, what are your contemporaries? Was that a world that you were like, oh, I can get in on this? Or you're like, this is the way this story has to be told, and I'm just going to do it this way. And then you realize there's other folks doing stuff like yours.
So yeah, it's a little bit of A, a little bit of B. So I was doing, since I did Lord Dinby back in 2014 or so, the audio drama Reddit was so sparse and I was doing 24 episodes a season. So 24 20-minute to half-hour episodes a season. I think it was 4 adventures with 6 episodes, or 6 adventures with 4 episodes a season. Old timey serialized 1930s radio style thing. But I have a lot of faults. Not a great person, but I hit my targets on release dates.
That's good.
And Dinby hit every single target. So it was released weekly for half the year.
Wow.
And the
You hear
audio
that,
drama.
Joel? He hits his targets.
Why you got to come at me like that? That's brutal, Steve.
I prefer to think of it as well timed.
But so because I was consistent and weekly, the audio drama Reddit at that point was pretty Spartan. And now they have over 500,000 people. It's very, very large. But I was posting so often, which was just once a week, that I had people complaining that I was overrunning.
Oh, you're doing too much.
The Reddit, right?
Yeah. How dare you promote something that's coming out weekly every week?
Right, exactly. So
that sounds like Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was doing that, and so I knew that was there to promote it. And I knew that community was there, but I was not ready for how big that community had gotten. Now, somebody had turned me on to the Black Tapes, which is a Pacific Northwest production, and they've done a lot of other shows like Rabbits and what's the other one that they did? Tanis. And these are really, really big shows. A lot of people love the Black Tapes until they don't, which is like they didn't really end it well. And those were actually, I was familiar with those, and those had kind of influenced me because I was like, ooh, I need to know how this ends before I start it. I need to know exactly where I'm going before I start season 1. Partially because I don't want to write myself in a corner, but partially because I want to seed the ending in the beginning. I want to put Riley in the beginning of the series, in the dream as she's a servant of the librarian, long before anyone's going to see her in the last episode as a servant of the librarian.
Oh God, that shit still gives me the willies, man. I'm just gotta say, like, that whole scenario. That's where, like, because Armando was like, dude, just wait. It takes a turn, man. Just wait, just wait. And then it took a turn, and I'm like, like, I couldn't listen to it in the dark. It was so good. Anyway, yeah, sorry, continue.
And then I wanted to be able to put her ring in the first season before it becomes important in the third season. So to me, somebody I read once said all of writing is setup and payoff. And so I take that very, very seriously. And so I wanted to not do what some of the people did. But then I also listened to the first season, the first episode of Tanis, and I was like, oh no, no sir. Uh, and it's something so insanely random. But he says something in that episode about uh, the cuneiform uh, spelling of Atlantis or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And the historian in me went, nah, it's not a thing. Um, I was like, anybody who knows anything about Atlantis knows that Atlantis never shows up in cuneiform. And anybody who knows anything about ancient Near Eastern history knows that by the time that Plato had written about Atlantis in the 4th century BC, cuneiform was no longer a writing system that's
Oh,
being
wow.
used. So I was like, I'm sorry, man, I can't get on this train. It's
Wow.
such a dorky.
Well, it's dorky, but it's also like you, and that's another thing I think about when I'm listening to your work is the fandom, right? You've got to, and it blows me away, Josh, to hear that you're kind of the one man show of all this, because I have to imagine that there's a whole team of fans that really are now plotting all of the pieces of information.
Mhm.
And have you ever gotten called out for some discrepancies like that? Have you ever
Oh yeah.
gotten
Yeah.
okay.
People have said like, well, this doesn't make sense. Sometimes they catch that early enough that I can go, okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Let's make it make sense.
Yeah. Like
And
justify it on the back end.
that justified on the back end.
It's
And
like
essentially,
it's like crowdsourcing your proofreading.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
I will
great.
I will
Yeah.
say
That's what Microsoft does.
Yeah.
yeah,
we're
right.
now their beta
Right.
testers. So
Yep, absolutely. And so there have been a couple of moments where people are like, well, this doesn't make any sense. And sometimes that's because I've made a miscalculation.
Yeah.
One time it was because I put the wrong name in the script. It was supposed to be somebody else's name. And I just, because I use names a lot because in my life, I think my brain goes like, there's only 5 names. Um, I've known maybe about 15 women named Sarah in my life, and all
Right.
of them been like best friends or wives, or
Yeah.
like I was going to be named that if I was a girl.
Yeah.
So in my mind, there's only 5 female names, and Teresa is one of them.
Mhm.
And at some point I named somebody Teresa who I wasn't supposed to.
Uh,
And then people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to explain that at some point.
mhm.
And because I'm not interested in retconning things that have already come out.
See,
I
I
don't,
mean, that's the thing. You have the power to do that, right? Like you
right.
could go back and edit that out and leave it alone, but you'd rather justify it on the back
I'd
end?
rather, I find those things to be writing prompts,
Hmm.
right? They are writing prompts in a way where you go, okay, so how did it get that way? Like, what's the Watsonian explanation for how it got that way in a way that isn't just bullshit,
Yeah.
right? Like that makes some sort of internal, real logical sense. And that's the challenge that I set for myself in those things is like, it has to make sense. Even if it's like, hey, we're in a dark fantasy world and you're using dark fantasy logic, fine, but the logic has to make internal sense.
Yeah.
So and in fact, some of those have been incredibly fruitful things. They've created spaces where I've been like, okay, what did happen here? Why did that happen? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, great, 4 story ideas have come out of
Oh,
that
cool.
that typo essentially.
There's I mean, there's like a spiritual philosophy there too of like allowing somebody to point out a discrepancy, or a better way of saying it is show you one of your own mistakes. You're just like,
Mhm.
okay, that's a writing prompt that I'm going to allow to make more space for
Right.
other I mean,
well, it's the
Jesus. If I
same.
could,
It's the same thing in music in improv. Like if
yeah.
you're going for a
Mhm.
phrase and it doesn't quite happen, but then if you can take that beautiful mistake and turn it into a different phrase, then that's a win. Like
Right.
it's something that might not have happened had you played the thing you were going for in the first place.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that stuff happens. There are other times though when people are like, "This doesn't make any sense," and I'm like, "It does. You just don't know the pieces yet." Um,
Well, that's where I live in your world. I'm like,
mhm.
this doesn't make any sense, but I'm not going to call it out because I need to listen to it 8 more times. And I'm willing to go on that journey, man, because like I want to let that shit wash over. It's like I'm the kind of person that will watch the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings movies just
Mhm.
because I like to find more decent. I'll watch them over and over and over again. Like I don't mind doing that. And I
Mhm.
think that one thing that you've embraced, and I know you've said publicly, is that your work is you encourage people to listen to it obviously over and over again
Right.
for your own benefit, but mostly for theirs. Like
Right.
that you will I'm like, I have not gone back through Weeping Cedars proper. Like I have not started from day one with Weeping
Mhm.
Cedars. I've done Samite twice, and I don't think I did. I think I prepped for the new season of Wrought of Amber. I went back through Wrought of Amber,
Uh-huh.
but I have not yet gone back all the way through Weeping Cedars. But I've listened to Samite and Wrought of Amber. I'm looking forward to going back all through Weeping Cedars because I feel like it's just gonna like, holy shit, I get a lot of the stuff I didn't get before. That's part that you bake that in,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing I'm really worried about Lightning Falls, which is the novel coming out in October, is it is a 700-page book, and
Yes.
you need to read it at least twice to get to get like why is any there are whole chapters in that book where you're gonna sit there and go like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
am I seeing this? Why are these people doing this? I don't understand why anything in this is happening the way that it is. There's 9 sections to the book. There's 5 about the main character, and then there are 4 historical sections that basically march from the 16th century up through the early 20th century. And there are going to be whole sections of those that you're going to go, that okay? Why
It's
did we
like
go
that was
there?
a thing that I just read.
Yeah. Why
well,
why are we in the Old West? What's happening?
well, it's like also
Um,
like I had that experience reading Moby Dick. And I'm like,
mm,
why am I reading a whole fucking chapter about the silverware in this room in this ship? I do not care. And then I get to the end of the book and I'm like,
Oh,
because I fucking lived in that world and I knew
right.
every detail of it. And
mhm.
Right.
that's why Melville was like applauded because it's like, I don't want to read a whole story about how to harpoon and how a harpoon works and all of that. But then you're like, if you know that, then you can really immerse yourself in the world.
You
Right.
have to have some faith that those details matter at some
Yeah.
point.
Trust the
Trust the
author.
author. Yep. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is going to go someplace. Because if it doesn't, then
Right.
that's a book that I will never read again.
Right, exactly. Right,
Payoff.
exactly.
Payoff.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
so the person who's editing the book, which she's doing very, very graciously for not a lot of money,
Mm.
is when she first read the second section of the book, which has a lot of action in it. The first section is about like a 29-year-old woman coming back to a very small town after being away for a decade, and not a lot of action in that first section. But the
Mm.
second section, it's archaeology. They're flying off to Iran in the early 1970s. There's like there's all sorts of stuff that's happening. And she was like, this should be the first section.
Mm.
This is going to pull people in. And I'm like, the book is not about that character though. The book is about this other
Mm.
character. And we went back and forth a little bit. And I don't like to do this, but I was like, hey, look, you're a fan of this thing, right? All I'm asking for, and maybe I'm wrong, but all I'm asking for is for you to give me the benefit of the doubt that I know how to structure this thing, that I know what order these things should be presented in
Mm.
to get the effect that we're going for. And then by the end, she was like, "Nope, you were right. That's the right order
Mm.
to present these things in."
Is it helpful to have an editor who's also a fan, or do you want an I mean, I could see benefits to both, right?
Right.
Like you can have that conversation and say, hey, you've liked the other things and you've trusted that this is that, but also that objectivity might be
Mhm.
lost. Is that something you've reckoned with?
So, yes and no, in that I when it comes to structuring the stories, I guess I trust myself. Um, And that, of all of the things that have happened, of all the things I don't trust myself about, structuring these stories, I do trust myself about, because I've never had an editor for them. The closest thing to editors I have are the voice actors.
Yeah.
And they'll read it and I'll go, that doesn't sound right at all. That's not their
Yeah.
fault. That's my
Yeah.
fault.
Right.
Let me restructure that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual shape of the stories, um, I think it's gone all right.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm also okay with it not being something that a lot of people are into.
It's gone all right, but I will say it's
Mm.
frustrating, and it's beautifully frustrating. And it took me a while to kind of accept that, like
Mm.
halfway through Weeping Cedars, the actual Weeping, I'm like, I can't deal with all of this
Mhm.
out of nowhere, different episodic shit. I want to know what happened in the, you know what I mean? I'm
Uh-huh.
like,
Uh-huh.
God damn it. But it's like, you get to the end, you're like, okay, that's why. It's like that whole Melville moment. Like, I understand why I needed to know the size of the spoons in the storage
Mhm.
room. It's like, okay, that makes total sense, but woof.
And it's also about what kind of story it is, because Weeping Cedars isn't the story about the people who the story's about, if that makes any sense.
Say that one more time.
Weeping Cedars is not the show, let's say the podcast Weeping Cedars is
Mhm.
not about the main characters of the story. It is about
Okay.
people on the periphery, right?
Yeah.
I'd say there are four main characters to Weeping Cedars, and we only ever hear from one of them
Yeah.
in his own voice. And we only get one voicemail from him at the very end of the show.
Oh yeah.
Joel,
So
that's like the thing with the music where it's like you're playing everything but the idea.
Yeah.
yeah,
Playing
it's the
around the
jazz
idea.
of horror.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And so, Josh, I don't know how. I mean, if you torture yourself by going back through our podcast, you'll find that Steve and I are Steve primarily, and then has imparted to me a
Mhm.
great affinity and love for the Grateful Dead. And I once made the comment about Grateful Dead's music is that I know a little bit about music. I'm like, they're not playing the thing. They're playing everything around the thing, and it's
Mhm.
creating a space for the thing to be there.
Yeah.
And another playwright of mine, a friend of ours, a friend of Armando and I's, who was the dean while we were there, Eric N, is a playwright, and he writes around a feeling
Yeah.
so that you can actually feel the feeling.
Mhm.
You do that on this epic scale that's
Yeah.
really pretty
That's
amazing.
like I tuned into that with Samite.
Mm-hmm.
Like the core of the thing is not being directly addressed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
about, well, and I think that's there's a lot of different pieces in this that I'm trying to get at. One of them is that we don't know if we're in a horror story or not. We won't know that. Well, we may never know that, right? So that there's this condition to being a conscious being, right? Where at some point, either your consciousness is just going to blink out and then you don't know anything at all,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to find out you were in a horror story, or you're going to find out that in fact, this is a comedy. That
Oh
in
yeah.
like in the end, I
Yes.
mean, right? This is Dante's Divine Comedy. In the
Jesus.
end, uh, as a sort of great Anglican saying goes, all will be well, and all manner of things will be well.
Yeah.
Like it's either darkness or it's terror or it's everlasting joy.
The cosmic joke.
Right, exactly. And so this is the question, and everybody in Weeping Cedars has that question.
So
There are no people who know.
can I ask a really
Oh.
pedestrian question?
Mhm.
How do you define horror?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So,
Because like that's been
uh-huh,
like Joel and I were talking about Midsummer, the
uh-huh.
movie
Yeah.
last
So I
week.
listened to your last episode. I've
Oh,
listened to a
cool.
couple, but I
Like
did
I
listen to
have
the last
like
one.
I love a good psychological head job and kind of
Mhm.
like ooh I'm right on the edge of insanity right now and it feels okay I'm
Right.
in,
Right.
but where I get lost is in like gore.
Yep.
Mm.
Sure.
Like I
And
just don't want to see it. Like I can hear it
right.
described, but I don't want it in my face.
I'm very similar in that the horror that I like isn't gore horror. So I mean, this is of course with any genre, people are going to say like, well, that's not comedy. This is, or this is not horror. This is,
Right.
um, and obviously, I think horror is a very, very, very big category, and it's anything I think that makes you draw back Anything that
Oh.
makes you react and go, "Ooh, no, please." I keep that away,
Yeah, but also keep it coming.
but keep it coming.
But
And
I
this
like it.
is,
Yeah.
but I like it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know how this is a terrible analogy, and maybe the brain chemistry is only pop brain chemistry, but I have heard that the reason why so many people have a foot thing, right? Like so many people have a
Here we
foot
go.
thing
Here we
Here
go.
we
is
go.
because it's like right next to the part of your brain that processes, I don't know if it's like the nerves for your feet or whatever is so close to the part of your brain that processes eroticism
Hmm.
that those signals can get crossed. And that might just be pop
Oh.
bullshit, but I've heard it a few different places. And so it's why it's such a common
Well,
kink
hey,
for people.
I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Pulp Fiction, so I'm here for
Yep.
the foot rubs.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's something I say to my actors, and I think I've said it so long. The actors that I teach, I've said it so long that I believe it, and I probably should do a little research on it. But that when they take a brain map of a human being laughing and a human being crying,
Mhm.
it's pretty much the same neural pathways, and so it is connected to truth, right? We cry
Right.
when we see the truth, we laugh when we see the
Right.
truth. So, but if I get to the end of 2027 or what is it, 2037, whenever you're going to finish this
Uh-huh.
shit, and it's this divine joke, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of all right. I'm here
Yes.
for it. I'm here for it. I know that you're not
I
doing
would
any
I would
spoilers on.
love that.
Right. Well, if you could read the board behind me, you'd see all the books listed.
Oh my
That's-
gosh.
He's got
That's-
it. He's got it blurred
Taking screen.
out.
I'm taking
Yeah.
a screenshot. I'm taking a
Yes.
screenshot. We'll
We're
get
gonna
the
figure this
CIA to sharpen that up a little bit.
I could probably sell this screenshot on Reddit for top dollar here.
There's a yeah. I mean, I've actually revealed the name of the last book.
You
That I have
have?
planned. Yeah, I have. I did an interview on a podcast called The Homie Love Hour a couple of weeks ago, and I revealed the name of the last book, and it's called They Call It Glory.
Oh,
Oh.
fuck.
And I've a sort of a book a year. Although the Weeping Cedars novelization is a 3-volume set because I was like, okay, I have a lot of people to cover. I have 3 years to cover. Ooh, no, that's not a book. That's a
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah. And that's essentially you picking out the transcripts and novelizing them. Is that correct?
No, this is the novelizations of Weeping Cedars are the parts you didn't see in the podcast.
Oh my God.
They're
Much-
Joel just blocked off like the next
I don't
2
know
years
why
of his
I buy
calendar.
other shit at this point. Like, why am I listening to anything else? I mean, it's just like Josh is providing my entire reading landscape for the next 20 years.
Yeah, so the Weeping Cedars novelization is you're going to follow Father Tom. You're going to follow the Bombowers. You're going to follow Deputy Quincy.
Yeah.
Kind of all of these characters who are secondary or sort of talked about. They're the ones living out the real story. So
Right.
we're
So
gonna
it's like Star Wars from a certain point of view. It's like
Right.
you're getting their point of view of the events that we've already heard about.
right.
Oh gosh.
There are characters that get like mentioned once in season 3. They're going to be main characters in the story. There's this one point
Joel might
where,
need a minute.
yeah.
So much, man. Well, that's the beauty. I mean, I'm so glad that you hired Armando McLean to do voice work. A, because he's the perfect voice
He's
for it.
fantastic for it.
But that I was introduced to this. Like maybe I would have found it some other way, but it's just it tickles my brain in a way. And as an artist, as a theater artist, as a person who teaches playwriting, as somebody who creates stories, I am just in awe of like the ability to sort of just weave all of this together. And like you said, like if there's a quote unquote mistake, it's an opportunity. Like that whole thing is just so amazing. I mean, you've got this planned out for the next however long. Like when did you have an end date? Like you're like, this is when the last thing's going to happen, right? And it's going to be sort of congruent with time.
Yes, so that is the goal, right? So Lightning Falls takes place. Actually, Lightning Falls started as we're recording this 3 days ago. And as I was editing the audiobook of the first chapter, I was like, oh, that's today. Okay. So so I try to put things out. Obviously, there are going to be books that take place in the past that we won't be able to do that with. but I kind of want people. This is the thing about horror, and kind of get back to the idea of like what is horror. And I didn't just mention the feet thing just because I thought that was fun to mention.
Hey, you're in a safe
Right.
place.
I got a lot of weird stuff. The feet one isn't mine. I'm like, I don't get it, guys, at all. um, but for me, I think the aesthetic experience and the horror experience are crosswired.
Hmm.
So there's horror out there that excites the aesthetic experience in me that I look at and I go, oh, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
That's a gorgeous looking piece of horror. And for me, things like Silent Hill, the movie Session 9, there's actually, so years and years ago, I've been doing podcasting one way or the other since like 2009. We did a lot of we did shows like this. But at one point I ran like a very, very small blog, and I watched this horror movie called Absentia. And I went, oh, this is really cool. I like this. It reminds me a little bit of Session 9. It reminds me a little bit of some of the slow burn horror that I really love. And I reached out to the guy who made Absentia, and he was a very little known director at the time. And he emailed me back, and he was like, yeah, sure, I'll answer whatever questions you have. And we did a little interview. And that guy's name is Mike Flanagan. And Mike Flanagan was like, yes, I know Session 9 too. You should check out this movie called Lake Mungo. And I checked out Lake Mungo, and it's a found footage Australian horror film about a girl who drowns in a lake in Australia, and then the question of, is she haunting her family? And I love this movie. It's a beautiful movie. The horror in it is beautiful, but also the ending rewrites the whole movie. And it's not just the ending of the movie, it's the credit sequence.
Oh, wow.
And if you watch this movie knowing that it's a Mike Flanagan favorite, and then you watch The Haunting of Hill House, you'll go, oh, look, that's where he got those ideas from.
Wow.
But there's a kind of beauty there that triggers for me in certain kinds of horror, but it's not gore. In fact, the kinds of horror I completely avoid. I don't like home invasion horror. I don't like horror that's too real. That's why there's always a supernatural element in the horror that I do, is partially because I think all humanity exists in an existential black box, right? We all exist in this thing where we don't know what we are. And we don't know what we're doing, and we don't know where we're going. And we tell stories in order to make that nightmare reality okay.
Wow.
Right? We thematize the world so that we can say we understand it. But we don't. We have no idea what it means to be a human being, right? So we pick a story. We go like, oh, well, it's God, or it's science, or it's maybe both, or it's intergalactic aliens that have seeded us here, right? Like, and
there
so
we go. You're going Scientology now, buddy. Let's go.
And so we try to find a way to go like, oh, the darkness isn't darkness. Our ignorance isn't ignorance.
Right.
But there is something to me that if the story is a comedy, and again, I mean that in kind of the old sense, it's not a tragedy.
Sure.
Right? Like it's
that you're better off at the end than you were at the beginning.
Correct. Right. If it is a comedy, then this darkness is part of the thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of the point that we're functioning, or it's a cosmic accident, right? Like it's one of those two things. And there is something about the way that the brain projects that onto the world that is horror, that is beautiful to me. And so like when I say Weeping Cedars is horror, partially it's horror because woven into it is that existential question of not even the mighty, if there are mighty, not even the mighty know whether or not they are in a comedy or a tragedy. Like if this were Lord of the Rings, Sauron is not an angel who has stood before God and knows how everything's going to go. Sauron's down here with us going, I hope so. Like,
Yeah. And I've
yeah,
and the Sauron has to fight for what he wants. I mean,
right,
that's the beauty of writing conflict, is that if you have two characters that want different things, you have conflict. That's the birth of drama. So
right,
however that winds up is either bad or good, or positive or negative, or better off or worse off. It's like
right.
this I mean, that reflects our human day-to-day life. So
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I'm much more interested in kind of wrestling with those big things than like I've never watched The Strangers, right? Like the idea of
Yeah.
like people who just come into your house and fuck up your world because I'm like, well, that's real. People
Yeah.
really experience that, and I'm
Yeah.
not interested in that. I would have never written Wrought of Amber if it was just a story about a 12-year-old girl who gets kidnapped and murdered because that happens and that's
And
not
that's and that
interesting to me.
and that reading that, I thought there was going to be, or listening to that, thought that there was going to be this correlation between Emily Carmichael and her older sister, or
Mhm.
younger sister,
Younger sister,
um
yeah.
and that the person that she was getting, kind of fucked with by, that there was going to be this correlation. It was just going to be sort of that kidnapping thing, and maybe it
Mhm.
connects to the larger world, but yeah, it kind of it blossoms out rather than kind of reflecting shitty people doing shitty things. You know
And
what I mean?
yeah, and I firmly believe that everybody thinks they're the hero. Everybody's doing what they think is good.
Yeah.
So in that story, I don't know if you've read the short stories or not.
I need
Um,
to.
okay.
I haven't. I need to.
They definitely put a lot of the stuff into context. But I try not to write people who don't think that they're doing the right thing. Or, I mean, potentially, there's always the person who goes like, "All right, well, I want to do the right thing, but I did the wrong thing."
Yeah.
But nobody's really motivated by being evil, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
nobody's motivated by being the bad guy. Everybody's motivated by, okay, let's figure this out.
Mm,
Let's do the thing that we think is good. So Crystalline Mansion is doing the what they think is best.
yeah.
They are they are serving what they think is good. And so that's one of the themes of the writing is the terrible things that people do when they think they're the good guy.
And I think that that's
Ooh.
what's yeah, that's really, that puts the whole, like, the hilltop murders in Samite in context for me. And that's what makes it, and like going back to your definition of horror, that's what
Mhm.
makes it so unsettling, is that these people are following this and trying to capture this idea of the glory. We don't really know how that, I think I have an idea how that manifests, but
Mhm.
still they're after something higher than them, and its circumstances are brutal, but they are after something. And it's like, that's what's most unsettling, honestly.
I want people that people love doing terrible things,
Ah,
right? Like I
yeah, yeah,
want
yeah, yeah.
like the Samite kids.
Fuck.
I love the Samite kids. I want to be part of that group. I want
So
to
do
be
I.
like
What's wrong with me?
I want that support system and that friendship and that sort of like the girls who are deeply sort of introspective and philosophical and the friends who can make fun of each other
Yeah.
and then we all go off and kill ourselves on a
Yeah, yeah,
mountain.
but
Like
the price to pay is that you
right,
guys have to do
exactly.
this thing and
Yeah,
cut each other's hearts out.
right, yeah. But
Yeah,
that's
I'll take
I
it for a little camaraderie, I guess.
right,
Sure.
exactly, right. There's but I want that. My editor actually read one of the stories and was like, "Oh yeah, totally, I love this story. It made me hate this character." And I'm thinking like, "Okay, I get that. I don't hate them though.
Mm,
Like I love them because they're doing their best. Um, and I think if I take inspiration from, I take inspiration everywhere, which I just steal everything. Um,
yep.
but somebody wrote something about a novel that wasn't a Stephen King novel. They were writing about somebody else who was writing horror, and they said something along the lines of like they don't love their characters as much as Stephen King does. And I was like,
Mm,
that's a thing I want. I
yeah.
want to portray characters that I love. I love the librarian. I know what he's
Yeah.
about. I know what he's trying to do, and I
Yeah.
get him.
Yeah.
And so like that is and the Queen and Samite is me. There's some part of me that's like, yeah, check out my glory.
Yeah.
See how far into the world I can get it.
I shine like the sun,
right?
motherfucker.
Yeah, check everybody should check this shit out.
Yeah.
But it's all like you want, and I think if you love, then there's more horror.
Dude. That can I just say
that's an intense statement.
That's it, man. I mean, because I mean, on a microcosm, like when I'm teaching actors, I'm like, you can't judge your character because otherwise it's cooked, right? And I'm so glad that you have that outlook on the world you're creating because it's gonna make it more rich. I mean, for you, it's something else maybe, but for your constant reader, as Stephen King calls all of us who read his shit too,
right? Yeah,
that all of those busted ass toys are your kids and you love them all and you want them to do well and you want them, I mean, and so that just makes me excited for the next 20 years of me listening to your shit and reading your shit because I know you care about them and it's never going to come from a place of almost like sadistic, I'm going to put my thumb on this group or this character because they deserve it and they're going to get theirs. Like that sort of writing feels vindictive and it feels like, okay, I'm being telegraphed what I should feel when I'm reading this.
No, yeah. So I will say there are characters who get thumbs pressed on them, and people are going to be very, very upset about that. But it's never because I want to hurt them. It's because somebody else wants to hurt them.
Right.
Right. Like that there are monstrous things that happen to people. And again, I have an idea of how this all ends in the sense of I have an idea whether it's a comedy or a tragedy. But I don't want that to be something that everybody is saying, well, oh, okay, well, here we have this and here we have that. That means it must turn out this way or that way. Because I want everybody inside of the story to be doing their own thing and having their own perspective and living their own lives. And I think that if you don't love a character that you're writing, right? Like if you don't get in their head when you're writing them, if you aren't them, when you're writing them, then maybe you will do a good job. But I couldn't, right? Like I can't write a character from the outside.
That gets you into that world in a way that it's a mechanism for you to get excited about finishing it. Right?
Right.
That works for you.
It's also, I mean, I firmly believe in the muse. So I think that when you create, you're being invited into this relationship, into a dialogue with reality that is that you don't have full control over, right? You're not dictating to the muse what you're going to write. This is the thing that I have a very complicated idea about. I was listening to your last episode on like ChatGPT. And I'm like, as a programmer, ChatGPT is amazing. As a writer, ChatGPT is a very useful research tool. It will lie to you a lot.
Yeah.
But there's a really cool function called deep research, where you can say, hey, I need you to go find all this information. Go away and do it. And we actually used it to find out like who made these coloring books in the 60s, because there was no information about these coloring books. And I was like, ChatGPT, go do deep research on this. And they found corporation records, all of these things, and found who made these things. And I was like, and to the point where you could verify, you could go and like, okay, here's an auction site that has this. And on one of the pictures, it has this stamp on it. And it had referenced that.
Wow.
Like, and I was like, okay, this is a very useful tool if you can't find normal information. It's a very useful tool if you want to get primary sources. Say like, tell me what I should be reading, right? But the people who are like, I want to write a book with it. I want it to write with my book for me, or I want it to come up with ideas for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's very similar in my mind to it being your girlfriend.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
because writing, creating of any kind, I think is co-work. You are working with whatever creativity is. And
Yeah.
I think about it as a muse.
Mhm.
And that you're missing out on that, right? That's boiling writing down simply to its sellable product,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? Do I have a book? Do I have a picture? Do I have a song that I can make money off of instead of doing the thing that's actually the heart of it? I'm not an anti-capitalist. I actually think capitalism on some very basic level is probably the best economic system. I don't like where we are at all.
Yeah.
The version of capitalism we have is absolutely monstrous.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that the great error of capitalism, right? Because I think everything's broken, so there isn't a perfect version of anything. So there's no solution that's going to be like, oh, this is the economic system that doesn't have any problems. I think the big problem of capitalism is it goes into the heart of something and it changes its purpose.
Mm.
So sports stop being about competition and play, and they start
Yeah.
being about making money.
Yeah.
Prisons stop being about justice, and they start being about making money,
Yeah.
right? Like everything starts just being about making money. And so writing then becomes that. And
Yeah.
you lose the virtues of the
Wait
things.
a minute. Are you one of those art weirdos?
Probably, yeah.
I I do like that though, because like you listen to, I just like started like all of a sudden started playing around with ChatGPT for the first
Right.
time, and it's been
Mhm.
out for like 5 years or whatever. But um, it 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 is sort of like the selling your soul at the crossroads for the perfect blues riff. It's like,
Mhm.
it is kind of like I have to
I,
separate Steve.
well, if the blues riff comes from ChatGPT, it's not the perfect blues riff. It's the most
Exactly.
it would be like the most sellable blues
Mhm.
riff.
Mhm.
Right, right. So you have to abdicate that part of you that is dealing with your own blues, and you're turning that over to something that is going to be palatable for
And
consumption.
then you have
And
ChatGPT make a morph picture of you and Robert Johnson, and you stick it up on Spotify,
Yep.
and boom,
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
make your 12 cents or whatever.
Mhm.
To your point, Josh, like a few years ago, I teach this interdisciplinary course in device theater, and I really was curious. I had the students try to break ChatGPT and try to have it write a play,
Mm.
and the students, and it was about 20, 25 students in my class. They all hated it. They're like, "We're going to write our own thing about engaging with this. We're not whatever it's right." So the kids know, like, when it actually comes down to making something real, they're like, "This sucks." Like, I
Yeah.
hope that pervades, you know?
I don't know that it will, except that all true art, right? Like the people who really make art have always been in the minority,
Yeah.
right? It's always the few who go and who pursue this thing that seems to have no fundamental utility,
Yeah.
right? Like it is that's I think that's why art and madness are often linked um because for every smitey toothed madman out there, there's 100 just normal people doing it, but there's also just like no utility
Mm.
in slathering oil on a canvas,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just it's not, I'm gonna
Yeah.
shake the string and it's gonna make a note, and but why?
Yeah.
Um,
Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible.
right,
Frank
absolutely.
Zappa.
Yeah.
And it's I think that I mean having something as ancient as like the Iliad,
Mm.
where literally the opening line is beckoning the muse to sing
Mhm.
about the rage of one of the demigods, right? Like all of this is crazy, right? Like all of this is madness, but it speaks to us. And I think that that's all the people are good. I mean, the music industry sucks, right? Like it's absolutely horrible.
100%.
It's been horrible for decades now.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but so that results in a lot of people saying things like there's no good music anymore. But of course
Wrong.
there is good
Yeah.
music, right? There
Yeah.
continues to be astonishing music. It's just not being sold to you through TikTok or, wherever the music is coming now.
Yeah.
So I think the artists will continue to art. I did have a conversation with my like 12-year-old
Artist gonna art,
nephew.
dude.
Artist got art.
I
Artist got
gotta.
art.
You mentioned the music industry, so I have to reference
Uh-huh.
my favorite Hunter S. Thompson quote and my favorite quote about the music industry. He said, "The music business is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs. There's also a negative side."
It's really fun. Did you guys watch What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes, I do love that series. I haven't finished all of it, but I
Okay.
watched the movie and then I watched maybe
Yes.
the first couple seasons.
We finally just finished it. But the opening song, "You're Dead,"
Yeah.
that is about being an artist. It's the words are, if you don't sing if you want to live long, they have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead. It's about being an artist in a corporate world.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm like, okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with the show. They just really like the line, "You're dead, you're dead,
Yeah.
you're dead."
Yeah.
Which is maybe kind of a meta commentary on the song itself.
Sure.
But I do think that, so I was having this conversation with my 12-year-old nephew at one point. He's older now, but at the time he was like, "Oh, I did this with this image generation thing and this image generation thing." And I was like, "Nah, man, like learn to draw." And his mom was like, "Oh, whatever, that's an old man thing to say. It doesn't hurt anybody for them to be like their friends. They do these prompts, then they do images." And I'm like, "That's true, but you have a voice, and if you don't train it, no one's ever going to hear it."
Oof.
So if all you do is offload it to this other thing, you might have something to say, but you'll never say it. And so like there are going to be the people though who can't help it, right? Like there are
Right.
going to be the people
Right.
who are just going to have to do it.
And all three of us are artists in some way. And I think that Steve plays amazing sort of improvisation. I mean, he plays in a band that plays cover tunes, but also he plays like improvisational ideas. And when you're giving that voice, or when I'm devising a theater piece, or when you're writing another thing for Weeping Cedars, it's scary. There's a vulnerability there. There's this piece of you that says, I have to welcome the critic at the time that says this is shit and this sucks. I have to say, yep, you get to sit down and you get to listen to this, because if I deny that part of myself, I won't do it, or I'll try to emulate somebody else. So you have to welcome that. And then you also have to just like bravely do it anyway. And like, it's a real honor, Josh, to have you discuss all these bigger concepts. And it makes me love all of the shit that you make even more, because I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm sure that you have dealt with that. Like, this is I can't believe I've got to do this, but I've got to do this. Like, I've got to write this. I've got to put this out. And it's not like I'm going to make $1 million from this. It's that I have to say this. I have to write this. And people may love it. People may hate it, but I love it. And that's what matters.
It feels like not mine. I will say that. When people criticize it, I go, cool, that's mine.
You take that.
Yep, that's right. It is boring. Or I had somebody I think because one of the main characters is non-binary in the original Weeping Cedars show, it's functioned in two ways. One, that was not my plan. What I did was I said to my performers, is there anything about a character you never get to play? Would you like to shape your character in any way? Because that's not like, unless they're an alien or something, it doesn't really matter. And the performer for Lee said, "Yeah, I'm non-binary. I never got to play a non-binary character." So it's like, great. You're gonna have to correct me on some things, but like, but sure, that there's no reason why they shouldn't be, right? So,
Right.
So that has functioned as kind of a gatekeeping thing for the series, which is that people who do not like non-binary people, or who think the series is going to be preaching about it, which it almost never comes up.
No, because it's like, that's not the thing. Like, it was just like this character happens to be non-binary and they're still a part of this world. Like, it wasn't.
That's weird.
I think it comes up twice in maybe the whole series,
Right.
other than people trying to use the proper pronouns.
Yeah.
So what that does is it sort of gates the show from people who are hypersensitive to that. And I've had people say like, "Oh, this whole series is about this," and I'm like, "Okay, so you listened to half of the first episode then, right? Because like it's almost
Yeah.
never comes up again."
Right.
But then because of that, I think that the people who listen then assume that I'm going to be a certain distance in the spectrum of politics.
Yeah.
And somebody left a comment about about a show that ended in 2021, I guess 2022. That because I mentioned Zionism in the last season, and very specifically Zionism from the 19th century,
Yes. Right.
that because I didn't mention Gaza, that they were done with the series. And I was like, one, okay, I understand that the Gaza thing's been happening for a long time, but the current Gaza thing happened after the show happened.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so like, but also talking about 19th century Zionism is different than talking about 20th century and 21st century politics.
Yeah.
And so like you get this thing where you kind of get it from both sides, right? Like where you're just like, okay, I cannot please everybody. I mentioned in the series originally that Native Americans did not go to this place because they knew not to. And then somebody commented on Tumblr, I guess, that I've erased the Native Americans from it because they've been erased from the history because I said they don't go there. And I'm like, I was saying they were smarter than
Yes, you were saying
than
you
the
validated
dumbass
that.
white people who showed up. So
So the
literally you can't.
And you have to just write. I mean, you can't I could see somebody who's not willing to put themselves out there take those hits and say, "Oh shit, I've got to change. I've got to redo it. Oh, I
Right.
got to apologize." And it's like the noise, right? You kind of like, okay, I trust myself. Like you said that earlier. I got to trust myself. I got to trust this. And yes, I can welcome in other people's advice that I
Mhm.
trust, but I also just have to do the damn thing, you know?
And specifically that Native American comment, I was like, okay, cool. Next one, I'm gonna read everything I can, right?
Nice.
Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna. So I just read because Lightning Falls takes place in northeastern Oregon. I was like, all right, tell me about the Umatilla, tell me about the Cayuse, tell me about like the Nez Perce. I want to read as much as I can about it. I also want to hear how they talk about themselves. And shockingly, uh, I think it's gonna upset. Very few of them call themselves anything but Indians.
Mm.
Um, so like while the term Native American gets used in Lightning Falls, also the term Indian gets used because all the books I read by both white people and Native peoples call themselves Indians.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to use that because that's what's in the writing
it's
and
an
not
it's an informed contextual
right.
historical decision that you're making, and you're kind of like, well, you're going to get
Yeah,
comments, but it's
right.
like, I did my research and I'm going to put this out and I'm going to do this thing, and it's like, this is why I made that choice and
Right.
justifying a choice. Yeah.
So I take some of those comments and I go like, great, I can do better about this. Let me go forward. And then others, I just go like, yeah, it sucks.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on. So I just want to take a moment to reference that you just said, I'm going to try to be better about this.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the titular,
Yeah.
right? That's the eponymous quote.
There you go.
Yes.
You could use that as the trailer.
Oh.
But I mean,
So,
that's the idea. What I'm hearing is that you're you're centered in what you're trying to accomplish and you have some faith in it because you've had some success with it. And not that that's the goal necessarily,
mhm.
but like you're able to take some broadside hits in stride and be like, well, okay, I'll look at that
Yeah.
Yeah, on one level,
and
yes.
stay on
Mhm.
your course.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because again, it doesn't feel like my thing. It
Yeah.
feels like a thing that comes out that I work on, and then it's out there. And then when people say, "Hey, I really like this," I go, "That's cool."
Mhm.
Um, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
interesting.
but when people say like, "Oh, I hate it" or "It sucks," I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I get that. That's I'll be depressed for the next 12 hours or whatever."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that part I can hear. I can
Mm.
hear this is too boring, it's garbage, it's whatever. But when people compliment it, I go, that's nice, because that's Weeping Cedars has nothing to do with me.
Josh,
Um,
as in line with who we are as people,
Mhm.
Steve and I would just I respect that as a way to keep trudging the road of happy artistic destiny.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I from a listener's point, from a fan, I'm blessed to get the opportunity to say that it is also you. This is coming from you. And we have a negativity bias as human beings that we can attach to the negative so easily,
Mhm.
more so than we can attach to the positive. And I would just invite you to also be appreciative. Like you're fucking I love your shit. Your shit is good. I am looking for I get to talk to an author of a book that I am gonna buy. I'm gonna, I'm gonna prepay for. And I look forward to that even more so knowing you as a human. And I think you as a human, you as an artist, we need more of you in the world. So keep doing what you're doing. And not that you need to like gloat around. That Queen and Samite part of you doesn't need to
Right,
take the
yeah.
front stage all the time. But you know, yeah, take a minute and be, I don't know, be appreciative, be proud. I don't know. Like I think that I think that people really love your work and people really appreciate your work. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of my small foray into the Discord and into the Reddit and
Mhm.
the message boards about the work. Um, we love your shit, right? We love what you're doing, and the way you're doing it is unique to you, and the world is it's a complicated story that it does not dumb it down for the listener, and you respect the intelligence of your audience, which is rare. And
Yeah, thank you.
when we find it, we want to keep consuming it because
Mhm.
we feel like I need to level up in order to get into this, and you know that, and you're welcoming us towards a more intellectual,
That
intricate decision making
to
to it.
interrupt Joel's flow, that's something
Please.
that like that's the sign of good art to me is like, okay, I'm out of my depth here. I need to level up.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like it's
Mm.
going to be worth it for me to say, okay, there's something that I'm not getting here. I'm going to investigate that and try and figure out what it is because I'm a simple person, you know. But I like to be challenged like that, and I don't.
Mhm.
Not everybody does, you know.
Right.
I
Well,
like things that are challenging and open ended and don't tie things up in a neat little bow and make me walk away thinking, Jesus, now I got to process that, you know, like, but it's good, you know, like that's
Mm.
that, and your work does that for me. Like it makes me think, like, okay, all right, there's something happening here that is below the surface that I'm gonna have to pay a little bit more attention to.
Mhm.
I think I mean, so I appreciate that. I will say I designed the whole thing to be sifted through by a community. Like I never expected any one person to kind of be able to come along and say, "Cool, I've solved this."
Hmm.
Um, which may be an exceptionally arrogant thing to say, right? Like, like I have built, I am the Riddler of the horror world,
Hey,
and
you can be the Riddler of your universe, man.
Yeah,
Like you
man.
can do that. Like that's
Yeah.
fine. That's not
That's
arrogant. That's
no.
good.
Yeah.
but I do think that there are, I mean, so my editor was going through Lightning Falls the other day and was like, "Oh, do we want to use this format for this? You haven't used this format for this consistently." And I was like, "Oh yeah, there's a reason for that. Like certain there are some things in the book that are formatted, the text is formatted a certain way or spelled out a certain way because that's secret. And at some point I want somebody to go, hey, did you know that every time this thing is in the text, it's different than these other times this thing is in the text, and they all have something in common. And that so like there are words used for products
Hmm.
in some parts of the book and not in other parts of the book that are not they're inconsistent, but they're inconsistent on purpose. And in no world do I expect anybody to read the book and go like, oh, every time, he mentions this, it's but for these two chapters. I wonder what I expect that stuff to wash over people. And for people to a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, find something
Hmm.
and be able to say, oh, wow, that was in there.
Hmm.
That's
And
as a deadhead, that's totally a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that spring tour in 73 where they played that one little thing, but then they do it in 73, 74, but then they kind of brought it back in 93 for a minute, but it wasn't fully formed. It was just kind of a noodle.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
will be,
And
there will be those people.
and that's happened very, very slowly over the years since Weeping Cedars has come out. Like there was kind of a spurt at the beginning with the Discord, and then everything died off. And now that we have the Reddit, there's been a lot more. But also I even though I have the 2 books coming out this year, Shards of Amber in September and then Lightning Falls in October. The other thing that I really want to push people towards, if they like Weeping Cedars, is right now there are 2 ongoing short stories happening in completely different formats. So there's Camp Weeping Cedars, which is happening on the website in journal form, as new journal entries are released every single week all summer. And then there's kind of like a little booklet and stickers that people can buy. And if they don't want to buy that, there's a digital version of the booklet they can buy for like $5. That's a short story. This is maybe the problem with Weeping Cedars is I'm telling stories, and I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, what's the puzzle?" And I'm like, "No, it is a story about people, even though it's in puzzle form." And then there's Console, which is a 1980s style computer interface that was just revealed on the website as a Morse code episode on Samite. So
What?
the latest.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah,
God.
you guys don't know about
I,
this?
I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah, fuck, dude. I knew about Camp, what is it, Camp Weeping Cedars?
Uh-huh.
I knew about that. And
Console.
I haven't gone
Well, this
into
is
I haven't even
exciting.
read the Wrought of Amber short stories. So I'm a fan only in the audio shit, but I need to delve in more. So yeah, no, please tell us more. I mean, I think we're at the
Hold
point
on.
where
Do you sleep?
Okay, so that's actually not really.
Okay. All right. Okay. All
I
right.
wish I could sleep more. Yeah, so I released an episode. The Reddit group solved it very quickly. I was very happy about that. Well, quickly is a relative term. So weepingcedars.com/console will take you to a computer with essentially a DOS interface.
Zork, it's back.
And so I've programmed this whole thing in order to give people pieces of the world and a short story that will be released essentially over the next year and a half, about a character from Wrought of Amber. I've actually not released that's who it's about. But there's a character, a character in Wrought of Amber that this is about. It's not anybody you would expect. I will say that.
Oh, okay.
It's not anybody you would expect. So Console will be released piece by piece, and I'm going to be updating the graphics of that page to let people know. So there's already been one update to it, kind of a week after it came out, to expand the atlas that's in there, because there's about 3 or 4 different programs that you can access in this DOS interface. But I'm going to be releasing sort of ARG style, like letters and memos and things over the next year that will indicate that something's been updated. On the other hand, there's Process, which was a series of 3 YouTube videos that pointed to Console like a year and a half ago. So Console's actually been out there for a year and a half. Nobody found it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I just want to, I just multifacet.
I just
Go
got
ahead,
a new
Steve.
job. How the hell am I supposed to balance these two
my
things?
semester's going to start. I'm not going to get any grading done. I'm just going to be like, I mean, and that's
Can't talk console.
in 2025 though, Josh, like that is a beautiful way to tell and to create a universe, like a Tolkien-esque universe, is to release it in all of these different ways and not feel awful that it's been sitting there for a year and nobody's really found it until right.
Like
that's just beautiful.
I love
beautiful.
a good Easter egg.
Yeah, for sure.
Where it's you stumble across, it's like, oh my God, and then the door opens and there's this whole other thing. Whew.
People have only just decoded the Morse code in the Samite intro. In the last couple of weeks, maybe last month.
That's intentional? Of course it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
in fact, I think there's actually 2 separate. There's like a season 1 Morse code, and
it's different.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if I remember
that's it. You're
correctly.
killing me.
Dude,
It's killing me.
that's amazing.
But so the whole so the whole premise, this is the thing. This came from an experience I had when I was I don't know. I was a teenager or whatever. My mom was watching some BBC mystery or whatever, and I walk in and I just hear somebody say, "Well, cousin Alfred hasn't been here for 5 years." And I looked at her and I went, "Cousin Alfred did it." And I left. And I walked back an hour later and I was like, "Did cousin Alfred do it?" She's like, "Yeah, cousin Alfred did it." And I was like, "Okay, so it's so hard to hide the clues in a mystery. What if everything's a clue? What if the way you hide, like, there's that great, like, what's the best place to hide a needle? It's not in a haystack, it's in a needle stack. So the ethos of Weeping Cedars has always been everything's important. That has turned around to bite me in the ass though when people are like, "Oh, they did this on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday." I was like, "All right, well, that's not that part's not
Everything's important, but that.
just let's not focus on what everybody ate at lunch."
Yeah, right. But that's,
uh,
I mean, that's the thing. It's like if everybody's thinking about all that's the beauty of it, and that's the fun brain gymnastics that it does for me. It's like, okay, what do I hold on to? Listen to everything. What's the little thing? And you know, my fascination with how this story unfolds via certain types of media,
mhm.
that may be a nothing burger. Don't tell me, because I love it. Like, I love listening to how things are transmitted and what that does. And I'm like, okay, that's my way in. You know?
I just flashed to the Only Murders in the Building podcast fans
Mhm.
Yeah.
sitting out on the street, the
Uh-huh.
signs and the
You're right.
everything. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I mean, on one level, I was even thinking about it the other day. I was like, "Oh, I everything is in here. Everything that the video games that I've loved, the jobs that I've had, it's all kind of in there." There's even, I mean, people have just recently rediscovered. I was working on a Steam game, so it still has a Steam page out there for a game that's set in the early 80s. Some of those ideas are ending up in console, but like it's if you're the deer, right? Like if we are our own deer, we try to use all the parts to make the art. And so like we try to not leave behind any bone or sinew or muscle. Everything goes into the art. So it's playing Zork as a teenager and then saying like, okay, let's make a DOS thing for people to explore for the next year because for some reason I can do that, right? Like
Yeah.
at some point I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn computer programming and make that a career for a while. And now I can tell a horror story that way.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, artists, I do have high ideas about art and then I don't have high ideas about it. I'm not trying to prescribe to people how art should be done. But I think if people want to do art, want to be artists, then they should check out what they've got, right? Like, and use what they've got.
Right. What
And
you
then,
know.
what's that?
Right. What you know.
Right, what you know, right? Like, and that's definitely, and then if you don't know it, learn it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that's kind of my soapbox too about art, though, is people talk about art being political, and I didn't used to actually believe all art was political, and now I sort of grudgingly assent. Sure, all art is political, but my kind of soapbox is, then let it be political. Let the art be art, and don't make artists speak as if they're politicians. Let artists speak the way that they will. So let them speak in their music, in their paintings. And then if you don't know what they're saying, that's okay. Like you don't you don't need to be able to pull a confident political statement out of their art. It may be there, but you don't necessarily have a right to know it exactly.
That's it, that you don't have a right to know it. And I think that can sometimes come across as arrogance from the artist standpoint if you're projecting that on the artist. But I do think that there is like, there's an opportunity for somebody to just experience it versus, it's like being in an art gallery. I had this buddy, Dave Nell, who we were in an art gallery in Chicago once, and he'd come up beside me. He was an improv guy, so he always was pulling bits. But I was like checking out the art, just silently looking at a piece of art like you do in a gallery. And he'd come up, he's like, oh yeah, I get it. Then I'd go to the next thing, he'd be like, yeah, I get it. And it's like, it just kind of showed me that like it's not everybody's right to fully understand it. But I do think something about what you said a while ago in this conversation, which was you're writing for a community to experience it together. And that inherently is politic, right? It's policy. It's how we arrange ourselves. It's people being people together and how they figure that out. And so that to say it may not be partisan, it may not be a specific, cause that you're trying to get behind, but it's political in that you want another person is going to experience it and have a thought, a feeling, a rejection or an acceptance. And that is inherently how we work together as humans.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and hopefully people listen to it and go, "Oh, right, there are trans people in this. Oh, yeah, there are
trans people in the world. There are non-binary folks.
There are gay characters that sound a lot like J. Jonah Jameson.
Right.
So like I want people to be able to go, okay, I think I know where this is. I think I know where this person leans.
Yeah.
Without me having to come out and say that, but and all of the evil people are treat other people like objects. So hopefully somebody can't look at that and go like, oh yeah, cool, my fascist agenda totally matches up with the art here. But yeah, I do think that you mine yourself in art. And if you're not, then what is it? What do you do? Are you just doing?
Yeah.
Are you just doing it for the money?
Wow.
And if so, good luck.
Good
luck.
Right?
Because
it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
Right. Yeah.
Josh, this might be on record as maybe our longest conversation.
I'm sorry, I won't.
No, sorry. This is awesome.
It's been great.
This is fucking great. Awesome. And
I've learned a lot.
I've learned a ton, and I'm now an even bigger fan of your work than I was before, which is always great. But I want to make space at the end ish here for you to kind of talk about a couple of things. How do people get in? How do people find your work? Where do you suggest people start who've never listened to your stuff, never consumed your stuff? Where would you suggest they start, and where do they find you? And and then the second question is kind of like, what are you into? Like what's your music preferences? What's your favorite musicians? What's your favorite movies? I know you've talked a little bit about that, but if you could briefly give us some of that at the end. But I want you to be able to sort of promote all the things Weeping Cedars.
What's the jumping off place?
Yeah.
Good. So if I were to say where to get in, I'd say do it linearly. I'd say, hey, go listen to Weeping Cedars, then Samite, then. But what I've experienced is that people find Samite an easier thing to get into. Partially, I think that's because of Armando.
Oh, his sweet voice. God damn.
Partially, I think that's Armando.
Radio magic.
Right. Partially, I think it's Armando. Partially, I think it's evolutionary biology in that people listen to men on podcasts more than they listen to women. Ooh. And I think Weeping Cedars and Wrought of Amber have had fewer listeners because of who the people are. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I think that's a bad thing.
Right.
But boy, did Samite take off in comparison, right? Oh. Like, partially it's the topic, but I also do think it's like there's a bias that people have. So, so I think Samite's maybe a good place to jump in. But Weeping Cedars is obviously very different. I've had people say like, oh, I really like Samite, but I really don't like Weeping Cedars, which is fine. But yeah, maybe, but if you want to do it linearly, if you want to kind of experience the whole thing, Weeping Cedars is the place to go. I have tried to design it so you can kind of come in anywhere. Yeah. The only place I would say you should not come in is Shards of Amber. That is a 18 short stories specifically designed to fill in the Wrought of Amber story. So if you read that, if you're like, great, I'm going to start this horror universe with these, you're going to be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, even more than the other stories. if you like books, Lightning Falls might be a good place to come in. It does intersect with Weeping Cedars, so there hopefully you can read Lightning Falls without having experienced Weeping Cedars and enjoy it. But there is interconnection there. Um, so yeah, I would say, maybe it's the topic that most interests you. Do you like the idea of cereal meets Dairy Maine? Because that's how I used to advertise Weeping Cedars. It's the cereal podcast, but what if it was Dairy Maine?
Nice.
But if you like old computer stuff, then same. And if you like a kind of a murder mystery, then Wrought of Amber. As far as what I listen to or I'm watching, the I find it actually really difficult these days to find stuff I like. And I sometimes get very let down because I'll find something I really like, and then there's just nothing else like it that I haven't really engaged with. So I find a lot of modern horror books to be extremely disappointing. Very few connect with me. John Langham's The Fisherman. I really, really enjoyed. Uh, and I went to it because it was a story about a river and a dark city in upstate New York, and I was like, how much have I apparently plagiarized of this man?
Oh shit. Oh shit.
And there's literally a line in it where he says that river was hungry, and I was like, fuck me.
Wow.
Fortunately, though, the similarities are extremely surface level.
Okay.
His Dark City is only in it for like a couple of pages, and it's about something very, very, very different. Also, apparently, upstate New York means anything north of New York City.
It
Right.
does.
Because upstate New York for him is like just north of the city, and mine is like way north.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I try not to repetitively read Stephen King, because you want a breadth. Music wise, I will say, I find it hard to find new things that I like, but I will say kind of I'm all over the damn place. So I did just get a record player.
Good for you.
And I've been grabbing some vinyl here and there. A little bit of the Moody Blues. I'm also so part of my project, I guess, as an adult with broken relationships with the opposite sex is I try to listen to a lot of female artists,
Yeah.
not because I'm like trying to be woke, but because uh like Fiona Apple
Yes.
and Tao from the Tao and Get Down Stay Down band. Kate Rusby, who's like a Celtic folk singer.
Nice.
Dar Williams has
she's great.
I dated a girl for like a month and she introduced me to Dar Williams, and that's been one of the greatest gifts that I've ever gotten.
I had a similar experience with an ex and Patty Griffin. And
okay.
Patty Griffin is just, I love her.
But yeah, so like, but most recently Lights. She's a Canadian EDM artist, but she and I'll for those who can't see the video version of this, which is everybody, this is Lights. She
right
is
on.
right
on.
She is one, very attractive, but two, her music is really spiritual and like so much so that I've put her as a thing that the main character listens to in Lightning Falls.
Nice.
I really try to like kind of point people at. I'm such a small artist that I can't get like permission to use people's lyrics.
Sure.
But I like to put the influences in there. So Lights comes up in Lightning Falls. But I keep going back. In fact, I just listened to. I'm a recovering evangelical, so
Same.
I was thinking about the Christian music scene from the late 90s.
Oh, here we go. Dude, this is another hour of our lives. What'd you do, Josh?
And I was thinking about like, oh man, there were some good bands in the late 90s.
Say the top one. I know you're going to be right.
So if it's me, I have two that are my Mount Rushmore on the top. And then right under them, there's a few others.
Okay.
But for me, it's the Newsboys and Jars of Clay.
Yep, you're right. You're
Yep.
not wrong. You're not wrong. I fucking listen to that shit. I'm like, I'm totally recovering evangelical. I'm not even Christian and don't even believe in God really anymore. But like, I fucking fuck with that first and second Jars of Clay album for sure.
If I Left the Zoo.
Yes.
I just re-listened to it yesterday. It's maybe my favorite Christian music album outside of maybe Kansas, which I haven't listened to in a long time. But like Jennifer Knapp and her, even her whole story about like, hey, Christian music. Also, I'm a lesbian. Oh, you guys don't want me around anymore?
Right.
Ooh, okay, well, actually, I'm gonna kind of keep doing it.
Yeah.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, Jennifer Knapp is fucking amazing. Old school Newsboys though were, and the way that they went from just like hardcore evangelical to extremely broad-minded.
Yep.
By the time Peter Furler left.
So there's a past guest, Eduardo Buson, that's gonna love, if he's made it this far, he's gonna love this part of the. I just want to shout out Eduardo. Sorry.
But yeah, so like there's still stuff in, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that I cringe at, right? But like but it's the dark stuff. It's the If I Left the Zoo is one of my favorites because it's so dark. It's so depressing.
Yeah.
And it's like so there's this year has been a very angry year for me because we've had like health issues in the family and kind of no one's shown up. And so I've had a lot of, but like I listened to that album and there's the lyric in that song, which is, what is it? It's something like, I encounter love as a fleeting feeling, but that's not what it's supposed to be. Oh, I collide with love as an elusive state of mind. I know there's something else it's supposed to be.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, right. There's a reason I love this that is outside of the kind of structure of evangelical Christianity.
See that album, I got off the highway with that album because I was too cool for school by the time that came out. I remember buying it, but I was listening to other shit, so I kind of
give that one another listen.
I need to because Much Afraid was my shit. I love that album, but
Steve's
like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Sorry, Steve.
There's some genuinely good music in the mix of a lot of corporate Jesus in that time.
Corporate Jesus.
Corporate Jesus, baby.
I went to at the time in the early 2000s I went to Creation Fest. I don't know if you guys know Creation. It's basically Christian Woodstock, evangelical Woodstock on the East Coast and West Coast.
We had one here and it was called Love Fest. I don't know if, yeah.
But big thing. And, you know, lots of stages, big bands, but then just a massive tent full of Christian ripoffs of everything t-shirts. So Call of Duty, not Call of Duty, but it's a man praying and it's like the Call of Glory or whatever, you know, like, and a lot of that informs Weeping Cedars, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, no, these are, if Crystalline Mansion is anything, it's a religion, right?
Totally.
Like it is 100% a religion. So yeah, there's a lot of that stuff there. But so I'll go back to that stuff. Like if I had to pick my favorite albums of all time, some of them are very basic, like Graceland. Sure. I could re-listen to Graceland a billion times.
You're not wrong.
Of course. Yeah,
right? I have always been a big Zeppelin and Doors fan. And I will go back to Zeppelin and the Doors. If there's a song that I feel like is at the center, it's Across the Universe. I not only is the song about creating art, but when you hear Lennon's story about how he wrote it, which was the idea wouldn't let him sleep, and then he got up and he had to pour it out onto the page, and then it let him go. And I'm like, oh, that's it. That's the madness of the creative.
That's the muse. That's the muse saying,
the muse.
I can't let you go until you do this thing.
And it's like, okay, great. So there's a lot of that there. But I will say, you know, like I keep going back to Tao and the Get Down, Stay Down. There's probably I also pick out just like one song from a band a lot of the times. I'll just listen to one. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place. It's everything from folk to like everybody else, I got back into Dylan when the movie
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to go. I got to go see him 2 weeks after I saw the movie.
Oh, and how was that?
He was great.
Yeah,
I mean, he's old, and
right.
he's never made any effort whatsoever to actually entertain anybody. He doesn't give a shit.
That's
Right,
what I
yeah.
love about it,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he literally played a good. He was at the piano the whole night, but he turned his back to the audience to pick up a Stratocaster and play a little guitar solo
Uh-huh.
during a song, and it was. I mean, it was tasty and appropriate, and it was
Right.
great.
Yeah. I love artists who do art. And so a
Mm.
lot of it is bad, right? Like a lot of when we make art, we make bad art.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I'm always kind of open to finding new stuff. But yeah, it really is like the rotation is going to be some very wildly, you know, diverse amount of different kinds of music.
I love it. I'm glad that you invoked Jars of Clay and Newsboys with for us. That's great. Oh, that takes me back. Okay, so in wrapping up, weepingcedars.com, that's
Yep.
the website. So
Yep.
you can find all of the web of everything there.
Slash
Obvious.
console.
Oh my God, that's the rest of my. I'm not going to get any syllabi done. I'm just going to be playing console. So yes, please, y'all check this stuff out. Even if the word horror podcast or horror story sort of
Or
turns you
podcast.
off, it's not. It's our podcast.
The
but
kids
it's
are
not-
all into the podcast these days.
Yeah. So
It's a thing.
check it out. Support his work, and you've got books coming out that you are kickstarting, right? Still, we can still kickstart those books, or
So I think the Kickstarter is fully done. I think
You
there's
got
probably
funded.
Yeah, we did get funded. So we got about $5,000 to pay for the audiobooks, and then pay for a little bit of the editing. So those are in progress. There's a little bit of slow going on the audiobooks, just trying to get that off the ground. Shards of Amber's audiobook should be released when the book is released. Lightning Falls might be lagging a bit. It's a 700-page book with a 26-hour audiobook. So
Wow.
it's going to be a meaty project for Quinn to
Yes.
sink their teeth into. And there is also a book planned for early next year called Welcome to Weeping Cedars, which is a novelization of the prequel. It is the only time that I'm actively saying, okay, guys, we're retconning some stuff.
Okay.
Because the prequel was part of a totally different podcast, and it was kind of before everything was planned. So doing a novelization of that for the people who may not want to listen to that, because that was a role play game and it was improv and it's a very different thing. But it also connected the world to the world of that podcast. And me and that podcast creator have said, like, cool, your thing is your thing, my thing is my thing. And I'm going to be sort of disconnecting it with that book in kind of a final way. So 3 books coming out in the next 6 months or so.
Sweet.
I'm writing Lightning Falls 1976. That may or may not be the final title for that, but that's sort of a True Detective meets All the President's Men in the mid
Let's go.
1970s.
Let's go.
So if you were like pluck one character from each of those duos and put them into
Sweet.
the Pacific Northwest, that's what I'm attempting. And then hopefully a short story collection called The Hum of Glory next year.
Oh my God.
Which
That's scary. I'd loof. Just that's the brilliance of your writing, though. All you have to say is the hum of glory, and I'm like, oh, like I open. Yes. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. I appreciate the affirmations. But yeah, so that's the kind of immediate plan. And then as you can see on the whiteboard,
I
there's
can't see it. You got to unblur it so that I can
as you guys have
sell your secrets.
Had access this entire time.
Just for everybody listening who's a super fan of Josh's work, I can't read it. Like I literally
we can see a vague outline, which is
there's
there's on the right hand side, there's this year. On the left hand side, there's all the books. There's my Batman novel that I'm planning for when he goes into public domain.
Oh, nice.
So that's I think 34. Batman will go into public domain. I'm already working on an outline for that. because that's the first thing I ever wrote was a Batman comic book.
Nice.
And I fully intend on Batmaning it up when we're allowed. Uh,
Oh, well, we're all excited. Everybody should go listen and consume and read and experience Josh's work. As a fan, as a fellow artist, it's just an honor to get to talk to you, Josh. I'm glad you were able to spare some time.
I appreciate you giving me the time.
This
Yeah,
has
man.
been great. It's been
Yeah,
great.
you're welcome back anytime. If you have things to push and things that we need to send out to our people, just shoot us an email.
Or if you want to
plug-
drop an Easter egg.
Yes. Ooh.
What
Yes.
if I did a Joaquin Phoenix? I just came on as a character.
Oh my God.
And
Sold.
I would
Sold.
I would be in.
Yeah.
If you ever, and this is shameless, and I can't believe I'm about to do this, but it's shameless. If you ever need free acting, free voiceover acting, just to
Okay.
be a part of your universe, you just tell me because I'll do it.
Fair enough.
I just
appreciate
want that on the record.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I one of my least favorite things in the world to do is edit audio. My
God.
dream is to make enough money with this. Well, I mean, my big dream is to live in a house where I don't feel like I have to replace everything in it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. That's the American dream.
There's the American dream, right? Like now the American dream is own anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so I understand that I'm in a privileged position that I have a house that I'm not renting. But it is 100 years old. And so we're constantly like, okay, do we replace the boiler that was installed before Kennedy?
Yeah.
Or do we replace the bathroom that has water damage on the floor? Like where does the
Triage.
Right, exactly. So that's sort of the first dream. The second dream is employ people.
Yeah.
To
for you.
kind of like allow me to do all the things that my brain wants to do. But two, to bring people into the project, to be able to say like, cool, voice actors, it's the number of roles are going to get fewer. And so I would love to be able to take that and put like those are much more being able to like walk around Weeping Cedars in a video game one day would be like that's a reward for me.
Oh my God.
Right? Like
That you just hit Joel right in his pleasure center. Right in his pleasure center.
it's like those are the sorts of things that like, okay, that's the reward for me. I get to pay people to help me make this.
Yeah.
That's a reward.
Weeping
So-
Cedars on the Switch 2.
Oh my
Right, yes,
God.
exactly.
Right,
Just
right.
like
Oof.
so that's the sort of stuff that like if I get the money, I want to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
So having people who are interested, that's been maybe the most flattering thing of this is people who are willing to lend their time and energies, not necessarily for free, but in ways that are like way less expensive than I would have to pay for them.
Sure.
If plus I would feel there came a point in like season 3 where I was like, okay, I can't ask people to do this for free anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's too big of a project. And they also told me like, hey, come on. Like
Hey,
Like,
we're
we're cool,
yeah,
but come on.
I know 2 years ago we said we would do this all the way through, but like life is life. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. No, so I ended up editing an opera podcast for a couple of seasons that, again, doing the thing I hate the least so we could get actors in.
You had to shovel some shit for a bit.
Right, exactly. And so that's, but yeah, I appreciate the offer. And
Yeah, wow.
should I return to audio, I will certainly keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's so great, man. Well, it's an honor to get to talk to you, man, and you're always welcome back. And we will push as much of your stuff as we possibly can. And everybody, please go check out Weeping Cedars and the Weeping Cedars universe and everything that Josh has created. It's you will be smarter for I have listening to it. You will be smarter. So
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
I appreciate that, and thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
yeah, man. Thanks for doing it.
Don't forget, toot your hooter.